Well, here we are at the end of week 2 at Kelby Church, and the organ is taking shape, and there's also been a couple of setbacks. I'll just go into those. Right, we've taken the knee board off. That enabled us to get the bellows back in. The bottom brackets had to be removed to just slightly widen the building frame in order to get the bellows back in. That's now screwed into position. Eagle-eyed viewers will notice the soundboard is back on, and the stop control system is integral to that, and that was all overhauled last week and was shown there. One of the difficulties putting soundboard back is that the wires for the pull downs have to mate into this square frame, and the only way to do that was to put the soundboard more or less into position on wedges. Withdraw the wedges slowly, part at a time, and then spend 90 minutes with surgical scissors feeding the wires into the square frame there. Just looking in the soundboard at the pallets, which we weren't able to see with it the other way around, these have now been cleaned. Just carefully poke that one down. It's absolutely fine. Looking at the soundboard top here, check this carefully for any splits. You often get splits when there's been heat. However, the church it came out of was very damp indeed. If I were having to replace all the screws plus that we're taking out. Just looking at this, what's unusual. It's not black leaded, is it? I suppose with it being a shorter soundboard, that wasn't deemed to be necessary, so I don't see any reason in doing anything different. It's been there 110 years like that. Talking of screws, there's some of the £150 worth of screws that are deemed necessary to replace on this instrument. They have to be flat blade screws. Phillips screws aren't acceptable in organ work. So there's the corner of the bellows. A bit of timber sticking out there to operate the control valve. We'll see that in place later. But I'm using the control valve to prop something else up. It's just the right size for it. Been retubing these pneumatic chests at the side. The idea was to get rid of the lead compo tubing, which is this stuff here, and out of its box there is the blow. It's I think it's a quarter horse unit. It's 500 watts current at 230 volts. And the reason the blowers had to come out of the box is I discovered that the 1950s blower box was absolutely riddled with woodworm. Straight away it's gone out of the church, that's gone outside our workshop, and that's been measured and put to be burnt, and it is live, so that's currently being constructed. Back to that tubing. That's commercially available tubing made for the air distribution industry, so it's absolutely ideal for this. It's 10 bar pressure, because we're nowhere near that on an organ, and it's really rugged stuff, so I'm sure that will last more than the lead tubing, which has started to eject white powder as it decomposes inside. You end up with pneumatics then full of the powder and starting to clog things up. That's one of the reasons we get rid of it. Get the stops now from left to right. Bearing in mind this is manual only, 48 note compass. Double bass 16 is a melodic system. It picks out the left note of your left hand, and it plays a 16-foot wooden pipe, which is like a board on, and it sounds like you've got pedals. Melodic diapason does the opposite. It's another rank of pipes, pneumatically operated with a fly pallet machine, and that picks out the melody for you, giving you the impression you've got a 2 manual organ. Going over to the stops, you've got open diapason, 8, solutional 8. You've got Gidaic bass and G'dack treble as separate stops, and then we've got dulcet bass and dulcet treble, which is a 4-foot dulciana. So you've basically got the open diapason, the G'dacked, so you've got the flute there, and then you've got a string 8 and a string 4. The first 17 organ pipes are back from the workshop. They've been fully overhauled, stripped down and re-leathered and greased and cleaned and all the things we do to organ pipes, ready to go in. Sat on the makeshift bench here is the melodic treble fly pallet machine, all being stripped down, re-leathered, rebuilt. And lurking next to our vacuum cleaner is the bass one. More of the components of the treble melodic unit. It goes without saying the foot pedals, which originally operated a foot blown feeder system, is totally not there, and the pedals are screwed into a position so they don't move. Absolutely pointless in replacing feeders. When there's an electric blower these days, people aren't going to pay the what, £600 to leather the feeders? I don't think so. Not unless it was a really historic instrument. Is anybody going to go for that? So it gives us more serviceability. Going back to those bottom, I'm going to call them board on chests for the 16-foot melodic bass, which have been tubed in. Of course I made a mistake, didn't I, and managed to damage 2 of the pneumatics which had been recently done. So yesterday I went back to the workshop and I spent another 4 hours redoing the pneumatics again. That's what happens when your screwdriver slips. Right, so that's the end of week 2 at Kelby Church.